The marriage contract was specific: slim, obedient, forgettable. What walked through my doors was dangerous curves, defiant amber eyes, and the kind of woman who could either save my pack or destroy everything I'd fought to build. 3 years after my ex-fiancé betrayed me, I thought I knew exactly what kind of Luna I needed. I was wrong about everything, especially about the curvy Luna who would break my bed and heal my shattered soul in the same night. Before we dive in, if this is your first time listening to one of our audiobooks, hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you more powerful stories like this one. Stick around until the very end of the video and let me know where in the world you're listening from. Now, let's begin.
Chapter 1, The Alpha's Order. The scar across Miguel's chest burns tonight. It always does when he thinks about her, his first mate, the one who carved this reminder into his flesh before she ran off with his beta. The one who taught him that trust is a luxury an alpha can't afford. He presses his palm against the raised flesh through his shirt, feeling the familiar ache. 3 years. 3 years since Celeste shredded his heart along with his skin, and still the wound throbs like it happened yesterday. Alpha Miguel? Elder Thorne's gravelly voice cuts through his brooding. The council awaits your decision. Miguel lifts his gaze to the semicircle of weathered faces surrounding him in the stone chamber. Candlelight flickers across their expectant expressions, casting dancing shadows that make them look more like gargoyles than pack elders. The full moon hangs heavy outside the tall windows, its silver light painting everything in stark relief. I need a Luna, he says, his voice echoing off the ancient walls. The words taste bitter on his tongue, but they're necessary. A pack without a Luna is like a ship without an anchor, destined to drift until it crashes. Of course, Alpha. Elder Thorne nods, his thin lips curving into what passes for a smile. What qualities do you seek in your mate? The question hangs in the air like smoke. What does he seek? Safety. Control. The opposite of the wild, unpredictable hurricane that destroyed everything he thought he knew about love. Slim, he says, his jaw tight. Obedient. Delicate. The words feel clinical, cold, exactly what he wants them to be. No passion. No fire. No chance for another Celeste to slip past his defenses and tear him apart from the inside. Elder Thorne scratches notes onto his parchment with a quill that sounds like claws on stone. Anything else, Alpha? Someone who understands her place. The words come out harsher than he intended, but he doesn't soften them. Someone who won't challenge the natural order. A few of the younger elders exchange glances, but they keep their mouths shut. Good. He doesn't need their opinions on how broken he might sound. He needs a Luna who will fulfill her duties without turning his world upside down. Very well. Elder Thorne says, rolling up the parchment. We will reach out to the neighboring packs. By the next full moon, you will have candidates to choose from. 1 month. 1 month to prepare himself for the clinical process of selecting a mate like he's choosing livestock. The thought should comfort him. It's practical, safe, everything Celeste wasn't. So why does it feel like he's signing his own death warrant? The full moon rises again, and Miguel stands in the great hall watching pack members file in for the presentation ceremony. The stone floors gleam under torchlight, and the ancient banners of their bloodline hang from the rafters like silent witnesses. His beta, Marcus, appears at his elbow. He's been walking on eggshells around Miguel all month, probably afraid he'll snap and take his head off. Smart man. The candidates have arrived, Alpha, Marcus says carefully. 3 from the northern packs, 2 from the east. Miguel nods, straightening the formal jacket that feels like armor against his skin. The high collar hides most of his scar, but he can still feel it burning. And they all meet my requirements? According to the council's specifications, yes. Something in Marcus's tone makes Miguel glance at him. Marcus has been his beta for 5 years, and Miguel knows that careful neutrality in his voice. It means he's holding back something he thinks Miguel won't want to hear. Speak, Miguel commands. Marcus shifts uncomfortably. There was a 6th candidate. from the Western Territories. And the council felt she didn't meet your criteria. Then why bring her up? Marcus meets Miguel's gaze, and Miguel sees something flicker there. Concern, maybe, or warning. Because she's here anyway. Says the moon called her. Miguel feels his lip curl. Mystical nonsense. The moon doesn't call anyone. It's just a rock in the sky that controls their shifts. But before he can voice his irritation, the great doors swing open. The candidates enter in a line, and Miguel forces himself to look at them objectively. They're exactly what he asked for: small, graceful, eyes downcast in proper submission. They move like flowers in a gentle breeze, delicate and pliant. Everything Celeste wasn't. So why does he feel nothing? The first candidate approaches, a blonde with doe eyes and a voice like tinkling bells. She recites her lineage and accomplishments in barely above a whisper. Perfect. Exactly what he wanted. The second is a brunette with porcelain skin who curtsies so deeply Miguel is surprised she doesn't topple over. She speaks of her embroidery skills and herb knowledge. Suitable. Safe. The third, fourth, and fifth blur together. Variations on the same theme of compliance and delicacy. His wolf should be pleased. Hell, he should be pleased. Instead, Miguel feels like he's suffocating. Then the doors open again and everything changes. She doesn't walk into the room, she strides. There's a confidence in her movements that makes every head turn. A presence that fills the space between them like electricity before a storm. Her hair is midnight black, wild and thick, catching the torchlight like it's alive. But it's her eyes that stop Miguel's breath. Amber gold, fierce and unafraid. Meeting his with a directness that sends shockwaves through his chest. She's not slim. She's curved in all the places the others are straight, soft where they're sharp. Her dress, midnight blue silk that hugs every line of her body, would make the council elders clutch their pearls. And when she stops before his throne, she doesn't curtsy. She stands. The silence in the hall is deafening. Miguel can feel the shock radiating from every pack member, the barely contained whispers starting to buzz like angry wasps. I am Savannah, she says, and her voice is honey over steel. Daughter of Alpha Cain of the Western Ridge Pack. Miguel should dismiss her immediately. She's everything he specifically said he didn't want: bold, curvaceous, clearly unwilling to bow and scrape. His fingers grip the arms of his throne so hard the ancient would creaks. You weren't invited, he manages, his voice rougher than he intended. Her lips curve in a smile that's equal parts challenge and invitation. The moon doesn't need invitations, Alpha Miguel. It simply calls. More mystical bullshit. He should order her removed from his hall right now. But something about the way she says his name, like it's a caress and a gauntlet thrown down at the same time, roots him to his seat. The Alpha requested specific qualities in a Luna. Elder Thorn interjects, his voice tight with disapproval. You do not fit the requirements. Savannah's gaze doesn't leave Miguel's. Maybe the requirements were wrong. The words hit the hall like a thunderclap. Gasps echo off the stone walls. Someone, Miguel thinks it's Justin from the warrior ranks, actually chokes on his own breath. Even Anna, normally unflappable, goes pale as moonlight. But all Miguel can see is Savannah, standing there like she belongs, like she's not turning his carefully ordered world on its head with every breath she takes. The other candidates look like wilted flowers next to her blazing presence. Everything about her screams danger. The kind of woman who could destroy a man if he's not careful. The kind of woman Miguel swore he'd never let close again. The kind of woman who makes his wolf prowl restlessly beneath his skin, suddenly very, very interested. The Alpha asked for a flower, someone whispers from the crowd, and the words carry in the sudden silence. But got a storm instead, another voice finishes. Heat floods Miguel's face, humiliation and something else, something that makes his chest tight and his hands shake. This isn't what he wanted. This isn't safe or controlled, or anything like what he planned. But as Savannah stands there, unrepentant and magnificent, Something deep in Miguel's chest roars to life for the first time in 3 years. He leans forward in his throne, his voice dropping to a growl that carries to every corner of the hall. The moon made a mistake. He pauses, letting the words hang in the air, watching her amber eyes flare with something that might be hurt or might be fury. Or did it? In the shadows at the edge of the hall, Miguel catches sight of Justin and Anna exchanging wary looks, their faces tight with concern. They know him well enough to recognize the war raging behind his eyes, duty battling against desire, safety fighting with something wild and hungry that he thought Celeste had killed. Savannah doesn't flinch, doesn't look away. If anything, her smile grows sharper, more dangerous. I guess we'll find out, won't we, Alpha? And just like that, everything Miguel thought he knew about what he wanted crumbles to ash. Chapter 2, The Luna Who Wouldn't Bow. 3 days have passed since Savannah turned Miguel's selection ceremony into chaos, and she's still here. Against every instinct screaming at him to send her packing, Miguel granted her the traditional week-long trial period that any potential Luna can claim. It was the safe political choice, refuse her outright, and the other packs might whisper that he's too broken to recognize true strength when it walks into his hall. But watching her now, hauling massive logs toward the construction site where they're rebuilding the eastern wall, Miguel is starting to think he made a mistake. Not because she's failing, because she's succeeding too damn well. Alpha. Marcus appears beside him, slightly out of breath. She's been at it since dawn. The construction crew can't keep up. Miguel watches Savannah hoist a log that would challenge most of his warriors, her muscles straining against the simple work dress she's chosen over the elaborate gowns the other candidates favor. Sweat glistens on her dark skin, and her hair is pulled back in a practical braid that's already coming loose from her efforts. She looks nothing like a delicate Luna should look. She looks magnificent. I asked for a Luna, not a workhorse, Miguel mutters, more to himself than to Marcus. But his voice carries further than intended. Savannah's head snaps up, those amber eyes finding his across the construction yard. Even from this distance, Miguel can see the fire blazing in them. She drops the log with a thud that echoes off the surrounding buildings and strides toward him, mud streaking her dress, sawdust in her hair. The work crew goes silent. Even Marcus takes a step back. She stops close enough that Miguel can smell the honest sweat of hard work on her skin, close enough to see the tiny flecks of gold in her eyes when the sunlight hits them, close enough that his wolf starts pacing restlessly, wanting things he refuses to name. Then you asked wrong, Alpha, she snaps, her voice carrying just enough edge to make it clear she's not backing down. Aluna's job isn't to sit pretty while her pack struggles. It's to work beside them, bleed beside them, prove she's worthy of their loyalty. The words hit like physical blows. Around them, pack members have started to gather, drawn by the scent of conflict. Miguel can feel their eyes on them, waiting to see if their alpha will put this upstart female in her place. Aluna's job, Miguel says, his voice low and dangerous, is to support her alpha, not challenge him in front of his pack. Her smile is sharp as a blade. Support and blind obedience aren't the same thing. But then, maybe that's the problem. Before Miguel can respond, she turns on her heel and walks back to her work, leaving him standing there with his jaw clenched and his pride stinging. The pack members scatter like startled birds, but not before Miguel catches the mixture of shock and, is that approval? On some of their faces. Damn her. Damn her for making him look weak. And damn her for making him want to follow her back to that construction site just to watch her work. By evening, word has spread through the pack about Savannah's morning display. The dining hall buzzes with whispered conversations that die the moment Miguel enters, but he can feel the undercurrent of excitement. Change is in the air, and change makes wolves nervous. The other candidates sit at the high table, picking delicately at their food and speaking in soft, appropriate voices about appropriate topics. They're everything Miguel said he wanted, refined, submissive, safe. Savannah isn't there. She's in the kitchens, Marcus says quietly, reading Miguel's unspoken question. insisted on helping prepare the evening meal. Of course she is, because sitting still and being decorative would be too simple. Miguel finds her there an hour later, sleeves rolled up, hair escaping its braid in wild curls as she works alongside their head cook, Maria. The older woman is actually laughing, something Miguel hasn't heard from her in months, while Savannah tells some story involving a rogue bear and a stolen honey pot. The bear looked at me, Savannah says, gesturing with a flower-covered hand, like I was the one trespassing in his forest. So I told him, look, friend, there's enough honey for both of us if you're willing to share. And did he share? Maria asks, grinning. He tried to take my head off, but I got the honey and a new bearskin rug out of the deal. They collapse into laughter, and something twists in Miguel's chest at the sound. When was the last time this kitchen felt warm? When was the last time anyone in this pack laughed like that? Not since Celeste left, taking the light with her. Alpha. Maria spots Miguel lurking in the doorway like some creep and immediately straightens, the laughter dying on her lips. I didn't realize. It's fine, Maria. Miguel steps into the kitchen, and the space immediately feels smaller with Savannah's presence filling it. Just checking on our guest. Savannah doesn't look up from the pot she's stirring, but Miguel catches the slight stiffening of her shoulders. Just trying to earn my keep. Alpha. Hope that's not too challenging for you. The barb hits its mark, but before Miguel can respond, the kitchen door swings open and 3 of his warriors swagger in. Derek, Kyle, and Ben. They're good fighters, but terrible at reading the room. Well, Derek says, his eyes sliding over Savannah's flower-dusted dress and wild hair. Look what we have here. The wannabe Luna playing kitchen maid. Kyle snickers. Guess when you're built like that, you need to know your way around food, right? The words hang in the air like poison. Maria goes pale. Miguel's hands curl into fists. But Savannah just keeps stirring, calm as still water before a storm. You know, she says conversationally, not turning around, I've noticed something interesting about wolves who spend their time mocking others. Yeah, what's that? Ben asks, taking the bait. Savannah finally turns, and the smile on her face makes Miguel's wolf sit up and take notice. It's not pleasant. It's predatory. They're usually compensating for their own weaknesses. She moves so fast that even Miguel barely tracks it. 1 second she's holding a wooden spoon. The next Derek is on his ass with flour in his hair and shock on his face. Kyle reaches for her and she pivots, using his own momentum to send him crashing into a rack of pots. Ben, to his credit, actually puts up a fight. But Savannah fights like she does everything else, with intelligence, passion, and zero hesitation. Within 30 seconds, all 3 warriors are on the floor, groaning. The kitchen is dead silent except for the soft bubbling of whatever she was cooking. Now then, Savannah says, straightening her dress and picking up her spoon like nothing happened. Anyone else have comments about my curves? Or can I get back to making sure you all have something to eat tonight? Nobody moves. Nobody breathes. Then Maria starts laughing again, and the spell breaks. I like this one, she says to Miguel, wiping tears from her eyes. Can we keep her? Miguel should be angry. He should discipline Savannah for attacking his warriors, even if they deserved it. He should maintain order and hierarchy and all the things that keep a pack functioning. Instead, he feels pride swelling in his chest like a physical thing. She didn't just defend herself. She did it with style, with control, with the kind of lethal grace that marks a true warrior. She's everything Miguel said he didn't want. She's everything he actually needs. Later that night, Miguel finds himself standing outside the guest quarters, listening to the soft sound of Savannah moving around inside. He should walk away, should go back to his chambers and pretend he's not drawn to her like metal to a magnet. But then he hears voices, other pack members talking in the hallway, and their words stop him cold. She's too much, someone whispers. Too wild, too strong. The alpha needs a proper Luna, not some warrior princess who thinks she can fight her way to the throne. Agreed. Comes another voice. Elder Thorn, Miguel realizes with growing anger. This Omega won't last the trials of the moon. Mark my words, she'll crack under the pressure and show her true weakness. The trials, Sarah's voice now, tight with what sounds like fear. But those haven't been called in generations. There. Exactly what we need to expose her for what she really is. Thorne cuts her off. A pretender. Miguel's blood turns to ice. The trials of the moon, ancient, brutal tests that supposedly prove a Luna's worthiness. They were outlawed 50 years ago after the last candidate died, trying to complete them. But technically, they can still be invoked. If the council decides a potential Luna needs additional testing, the bastards are planning to get her killed. Before Miguel can process what he's doing, he's moving toward the voices, ready to tear Thorne's throat out for even suggesting such a thing. But Savannah's door opens, and she steps into the hallway. She's changed into simple sleep clothes, soft pants, and a loose shirt that somehow managed to be more alluring than any fancy gown. Her hair falls in waves around her shoulders, and her feet are bare. She looks young, vulnerable, until she speaks. The trials of the moon, she says quietly, her voice carrying clearly in the hallway silence. Every conversation stops. Every head turns. Her amber eyes find Miguel's through the crowd, and he sees no fear there. Only determination burning bright as flame. Then let me prove them wrong. The words are a whisper, but they hit like a war cry. In the crowd, Miguel catches sight of Sarah clenching her fists, her face pale with worry. Tucker smirks from the back, like he's enjoying the show. But all Miguel can see is Savannah, chin raised, ready to face death itself just to prove she belongs here. Just to prove she belongs with him. And for the first time since Celeste left, Miguel realizes he might have found something worth fighting for. Chapter 3, The Trial of the Hunt. The council chamber feels like a tomb when they announce their decision. The sacred Luna hunt, Elder Thorne declares, his voice echoing off stone walls that have witnessed too much bloodshed over the centuries. By ancient law, any who would claim the title of Luna may be subjected to this trial if her worthiness is questioned. Miguel wants to rip his throat out. The words taste like ash in his mouth as he forces himself to remain seated on his throne, to project the calm authority of an alpha while his world tilts sideways. The Luna hunt hasn't been called in over a century. The last 3 candidates who attempted it died screaming. Savannah stands in the center of the chamber, still as carved marble, her amber eyes fixed on Thorne like she's memorizing his face for later. She hasn't looked at Miguel once since the trial was announced an hour ago. Smart woman. If she saw the war raging behind his eyes, she might realize just how badly he wants to call this whole thing off. The beast dwells in the shadow mirror. Elder Thorne continues, clearly enjoying every word. A creature of nightmare that has claimed the lives of 7 warriors in the past decade. The candidate has from sunset to sunrise to track it, face it, and return with proof of her victory. And if she fails, Miguel asks, though he already knows the answer. Thorne's smile is cold as winter. Then the moon will have spoken its judgment, meaning she dies, meaning Miguel will have to watch another woman he cares about get torn apart by something he should have protected her from. The other council members nod their agreement, faces solemn and satisfied. They think they've found the perfect way to be rid of the troublesome candidate without openly defying ancient law. Clean, legal, final. Cowards, all of them. I accept, Savannah says, her voice cutting through Miguel's rage like a blade. When do I leave? At sunset, Thorne replies. You may take no weapons save what you can craft or find. No assistance from pack members. You hunt alone or not at all. She nods once, sharp and decisive. Understood. Then she turns and walks out of the chamber without another word. Her spine straight as a sword, her head high. The heavy doors close behind her with a sound like fate sealing shut. Miguel gives it exactly 30 seconds before he's on his feet, stalking toward the exit. Alpha, Thorne calls after him. Where are you going? Miguel pauses at the threshold, his hand on the ancient wood, and looks back at the assembled council. Every instinct he has as a leader screams at him to end this farce, to invoke his authority and cancel the trial before it can begin. But he can see it in their faces, the challenge, the test. They're not just putting Savannah on trial. They're testing him too. Testing whether he's strong enough to let his potential Luna face death alone, or weak enough to interfere and prove he's unfit to rule. Politics and pack law, wrapped up in a neat little package that could destroy everything Miguel has built. To prepare, he says finally, the pack deserves to witness tomorrow's outcome. It's not a lie. Not exactly. But it's not the whole truth either. Miguel finds her at the edge of the darkwood, sitting on a fallen log and methodically checking her makeshift weapons. She's crafted a spear from ash wood and obsidian, balanced a set of throwing knives from scavenged metal, and woven what looks like a net from tough forest vines. Practical. Deadly. Everything a true Luna should be. Planning to watch the show, she asks without looking up from sharpening her spear point. Maybe. Miguel settles onto the log beside her, close enough to catch her scent. Wild honey and determination, with an undertone of fear she's trying hard to hide. Or maybe I'm here to talk you out of the stupidest thing you've ever done. Her laugh is bitter as burnt coffee. This from the man who asked for a delicate flower instead of a warrior. I was wrong, Miguel says, the words ripping out of him before he can stop them. I was wrong about a lot of things. That makes her look at him finally, amber eyes wide with surprise. Miguel, you don't have to do this, he continues, his voice rough. I can invoke Alpha's privilege, call off the trial, tell the council to go to hell, and lose their respect forever. She shakes her head. No, they need to see that I'm not some weak Omega who'll crumble under pressure. They need to know that their future Luna can face the darkness and come back stronger. Their future Luna might not come back at all. The words hang between them like a physical weight. In the distance, Miguel can hear the first howls of the evening hunt beginning, pack members calling to each other as they prepare for the night's patrol. Normal sounds of a normal evening, while they sit here discussing her potential death. The shadow beast, Miguel says quietly. It's not just some rogue wolf or bear. It's something else. Something that shouldn't exist in the natural world. I know. Her voice is steady, but Miguel catches the slight tremor in her hands as she tests the balance of her spear. I've heard the stories. 7 warriors dead. Their bodies found torn apart like they've been fed to something with claws the size of daggers. Then you know this isn't a test of your worthiness. It's an execution with extra steps. She's quiet for a long moment, staring into the darkening trees. When she speaks again, her voice is soft as silk and twice as strong. My grandmother used to tell me stories about the old days, when Luna trials actually meant something. When they were tests of courage and wisdom, not political assassinations. She looks at Miguel sideways, a ghost of a smile playing at her lips. She also told me that the moon never gives a wolf more than they can handle. Your grandmother never met Elder Thorn. No, Savannah agrees. But she met worse, and she survived to tell the tale. Before Miguel can respond, she stands and shoulders her makeshift pack. The sun is touching the horizon now, painting the sky in shades of blood and gold. Time to go, she says. Miguel wants to grab her, hold her back, tell her pack politics can go to hell if it means keeping her safe. But something in her eyes stops him, a fierce pride that reminds him why he was drawn to her in the first place. She's not doing this for the council, or even for him. She's doing it because she knows who she is and refuses to let anyone make her smaller. Good hunting, Miguel says instead. She nods once, then disappears into the trees like shadow made flesh. Miguel sits on that log until full darkness falls, listening to the forest sounds change from day to night, trying not to think about the fact that he might never see her again. Then he gets up and follows her trail into the shadow mirror. Miguel tells himself he's just going to observe. Stay back, keep hidden, make sure she doesn't face whatever's out there completely alone. It's a reasonable precaution, the kind any responsible alpha would take. The lie tastes bitter in his mouth as he tracks her scent through the twisted trees of the deep forest. The shadow mirror earned its name honestly, Ancient oaks and twisted pines block out most of the moonlight, creating a labyrinth of silver shadows and absolute darkness. The very air feels wrong here, thick with the scent of decay and something else. Something that makes Miguel's wolf pace nervously and his human instincts scream warnings. Savannah's trail is easy enough to follow at first. She's good, better than most of Miguel's warriors, but she's not trying to hide her passage. She wants the beast to find her, brave or suicidal. Sometimes there's not much difference. Miguel has been tracking for maybe an hour when her scent trail stops abruptly, like she simply vanished into thin air. He casts around, searching for any sign of her passage, but finds nothing. It's like she was swallowed by the forest itself. That's when he smells it. Death. Old blood. And underneath it all, something that doesn't belong in any natural ecosystem. A rank, oily scent that makes Miguel's stomach turn and his wolf whimper like a beaten pup. The shadow beast is close. Miguel is creeping through a grove of dead birches, their white trunks gleaming like bones in the moonlight when the attack comes. Not on him. He hears Savannah's sharp cry of pain somewhere ahead, followed by a sound like nothing he's ever heard before. It's not quite a roar, not quite a scream. It's the sound nightmares make when they crawl out of the dark places where sanity goes to die. Every instinct Miguel has screams at him to run. This is what she came here to face, and she needs to face it alone if she's going to prove herself to the pack. Instead, he breaks into a run toward the sound of battle. Miguel finds them in a clearing where the moonlight actually penetrates the canopy. Savannah, bloodied but standing, facing down something that shouldn't exist outside of ancient nightmares. The shadow beast is massive, easily twice the size of Miguel's largest wolf, with fur so black it seems to absorb light. Its eyes burn like coals, and when it opens its mouth to roar again, Miguel sees rows of teeth like broken glass. Savannah has already landed several hits with her spear, dark ichor streaming from wounds along its flanks, but the creature barely seems to notice. It lunges at her with claws extended, and she rolls aside just in time to avoid being disemboweled. She's fast. She's skilled. She's fighting like a woman possessed. She's also losing. The beast catches her with a backhand swipe that sends her flying into a tree trunk. Miguel hears the crack of impact, sees her slide to the ground and struggle to rise. Blood streams down her face, and her left arm hangs at a wrong angle. The creature stalks toward her, taking its time now, savoring the kill. That's when every rational thought in Miguel's head shuts down and pure instinct takes over. He shifts mid-leap, his human form dissolving into his wolf shape between one heartbeat and the next. He hits the shadow beast from the side with all the force he can muster, driving it away from Savannah and into the center of the clearing. The impact is like hitting a brick wall. The creature is solid muscle and supernatural strength, and it shrugs Miguel off like he's an annoying insect. But he's bought Savannah precious seconds to recover, to get back on her feet and retrieve her weapons. Miguel knows, she screams. This is my fight. She's right. This is her trial, her chance to prove herself. By interfering, Miguel is undermining everything she's trying to accomplish. He doesn't care. The beast turns its attention to him, those burning eyes fixing on Miguel's wolf form with predatory interest. When it moves, it's faster than anything that size has a right to be. Claws rake across Miguel's ribs, opening up lines of fire along his flanks. He snaps at its throat and gets a mouthful of fur that tastes like grave dirt and old nightmares. They roll across the clearing, a tangle of claws and fangs and desperate fury. Miguel is bigger than most wolves, stronger than most alphas, but this thing is in a league of its own. Every blow he lands barely registers, while its claws and teeth open new wounds that heal too slowly. Miguel is outmatched, and they both know it. The beast pins him, massive paws on his chest, claws digging deep into muscle and scraping against bone. Its mouth opens wide, showing Miguel exactly how he's going to die, and he has just enough time to think that at least Savannah might escape while it's distracted with killing him. Then a spear point erupts through the creature's chest. dark with ichor, and Savannah's war cry echoes across the clearing. The beast rears back, roaring in pain and fury, and Miguel rolls clear just as she wrenches her spear free and drives it home again, this time finding something vital. The creature convulses once, twice, then crashes to the ground like a felled tree. Silence falls over the clearing like a blanket, broken only by their harsh breathing and the distant sound of night birds calling. Savannah stands over the corpse, swaying slightly, her face a mask of blood and determination. Her makeshift armor is torn, her weapons broken or lost, but she's alive. They're both alive. You idiot, she says without looking at Miguel. You magnificent, stupid idiot. Miguel shifts back to human form, wincing as the movement pulls at his injuries. You're welcome. I didn't need your help. You're right, Miguel admits. You had it handled. I just couldn't watch. She turns to look at him then, and something passes between them in the moonlight. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. The acknowledgement that they're both changed by what just happened. Help me skin this thing, she says finally. The council wants proof. Dawn is breaking over the pack grounds when they emerge from the forest, and half the pack has gathered to witness Savannah's return. She walks ahead of Miguel, her spine straight despite her injuries, carrying the shadow beast's pelt like a banner. The crowd falls silent as she approaches the great hall. Even from a distance, Miguel can see Elder Thorne's face go pale as he realizes his plan has backfired spectacularly. Savannah doesn't pause at the steps. She walks straight into the hall, her bare feet silent on ancient stone, and throws the massive pelt at the council's feet. Black fur spreads across the floor like spilled night, and the scent of supernatural death fills the chamber. Gasps ripple through the hall. Pack members who haven't seen the shadow beast remains before step back instinctively, their wolves recognizing something that doesn't belong in the natural order. The Luna hunt is complete, Savannah says, her voice carrying clearly despite her exhaustion. I bring proof of the shadow beast's death. Elder Thorne stares at the pelt like he's seeing his own grave. The other council members exchange glances, clearly scrambling to figure out how to handle a situation they never expected to face. This is unprecedented, Thorne stammers. The beast was thought to be immortal, unkillable. Then you thought wrong, Savannah cuts him off. The moon called me to face the darkness, and I answered. The trial is complete. Miguel steps forward, unable to stay silent any longer. His chest feels tight, like something fundamental has shifted inside him, like tectonic plates rearranging themselves to create new landscape. Looking at Savannah, bloodied, triumphant, magnificent in her victory, Miguel finally understands what he's been fighting against all this time. Not her, not the moon's choice, himself, his own fear of being hurt again. But standing here in the aftermath of her trial, watching her claim her place with quiet dignity, Miguel realizes something that changes everything. The moon didn't curse me, he says, his voice barely above a whisper, but carrying clearly in the stunned silence. Every head turns toward him. Savannah's amber eyes find his across the hall, wide with something that might be hope. It crowned me. The words hang in the air like a declaration of war against everything Miguel thought he believed about love and loss and second chances. In the crowd, he catches sight of Quinn stepping forward, awe shining in her eyes as she looks between Savannah and him. But Alex, standing near the back, tries to hide a bitter scowl behind his hand. Not everyone is happy about this development. Miguel doesn't care. For the first time in 3 years, he's not making decisions based on fear. He's making them based on what his heart knows to be true. Savannah doesn't just deserve to be Luna. She already is one. And maybe, just maybe, Miguel is finally ready to be the alpha she deserves. Chapter 4, The Rustlers of the Pack. 1 week has passed since Savannah slayed the shadow beast, and the pack politics have turned uglier than a feeding frenzy. You'd think killing an immortal nightmare would earn her some respect. Instead, it seems to have made her enemies more desperate, more creative in their attempts to destroy her. They can't challenge her strength anymore, not after she dragged a creature's pelt back from the shadow mirror. So they've decided to attack something else. her dignity. Miguel is standing at the edge of the Great Hall, watching the seamstresses make final adjustments to Savannah's Luna gown for tonight's formal presentation ceremony. It's a beautiful piece, midnight blue silk that matches her eyes, with silver threading that catches the light like captured starfire. She looks like a queen. She looks like she belongs here, which is exactly why someone's going to try to destroy it. Alpha. Marcus appears at Miguel's elbow, his face tight with the expression he wears when he's about to deliver bad news. We have a problem. What kind of problem? He glances around to make sure they're not overheard, then leans closer. Lydia came to me this morning, says she overheard some of the younger pack members talking about pranks for tonight's ceremony. Miguel's blood turns cold. What kind of pranks? The kind that would humiliate our potential Luna in front of the entire pack. Marcus's jaw clenches. The kind that crossed the line from politics into cruelty. Miguel feels his wolf stir restlessly beneath his skin. Over the past week, watching Savannah face down every challenge the pack has thrown at her with grace and strength, something fundamental has shifted in his chest. The walls he built after Celeste's betrayal are cracking, letting in light he thought he'd never see again. And now someone wants to hurt her. Wants to break her spirit the way they can't break her body. Over his dead fucking body. Names, he growls. Marcus shakes his head. Lydia wouldn't say. Too scared of retribution. But Miguel, he meets the Alpha's eyes, and Miguel sees his own protective fury reflected there. Maybe it's time to make it clear where you stand, before someone goes too far. Before Miguel can respond, the great doors swing open, and the pack begins filing in for the ceremony. Savannah enters with the other candidates, and his breath catches in his throat at the sight of her. The gown fits like it was made for her, which it was, highlighting every curve, every line of strength in her body. Her hair is pinned up in an elaborate style that showcases the elegant line of her neck, and she moves with the fluid grace of a born predator. She's magnificent, and someone in this hall is planning to humiliate her. The ceremony begins with traditional words, ancient rituals that have governed pack succession for centuries. Each candidate is presented to the assembled pack, their lineage and accomplishments recited for all to hear. Savannah is last, as befits her status as the controversial choice. Elder Thorne calls her forward, his voice dripping with barely concealed disdain. Savannah of the Western Ridge, daughter of Alpha Cain, slayer of shadows. She steps into the circle of torchlight at the center of the hall, chin raised, back straight. Every inch the Luna she was born to be. That's when it happens. She takes another step, and the carefully weakened seams of her gown give way with a sound like tearing silk. The beautiful midnight blue fabric splits down the back, the delicate silver threading scattering like fallen stars. Gasps echo through the hall. A few barely suppressed snickers from the younger wolves. Miguel feels rage building in his chest like a physical fire, ready to tear apart whoever orchestrated this. But Savannah doesn't flinch, doesn't cover herself or flee in shame. Instead, she turns slowly in place, letting everyone see the damage, letting the torn fabric fall where it may. Then she looks directly at Miguel, her amber eyes blazing with defiant fire. Well, she says, her voice carrying clearly through the stunned silence, I suppose this proves something important. The hall holds its breath. If cloth makes a Luna, she continues, her voice growing stronger with each word, then perhaps you chose the wrong Alpha. For a heartbeat, no one moves. Then someone in the back, Miguel thinks it's one of the younger warriors, starts laughing. The sound spreads like wildfire through the crowd until the entire hall is roaring with shocked laughter and grudging admiration. She's turned their trap into a triumph, made their attempt at humiliation into a display of strength and wit. Damn, Miguel is proud of her. The feast after the ceremony should be a celebration, but the tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a blade. Someone clearly isn't done trying to break Savannah's spirit. The tables are arranged in the traditional hierarchy. The high table for the Alpha and his closest advisors, with the candidates seated in places of honor. Savannah's chair is an ornate piece, carved from ancient oak and passed down through generations of Lunas. It's also been sabotaged. Miguel sees her hesitate for just a moment as she approaches the chair, her nose twitching slightly. She can smell it, the scent of tampered wood, of deliberately weakened joints. But she sits anyway, because backing down isn't in her nature. The chair holds for exactly 30 seconds. Long enough for the pack to settle, for conversations to begin, for everyone to relax into the evening's rhythm. Then it collapses beneath her with a crack like breaking bones. Savannah goes down hard, landing in a tangle of splintered wood and bruised dignity. This time there's no laughter, just shocked silence and the smell of fear from whoever orchestrated this latest humiliation. But again, she doesn't stay down. She rises from the wreckage like a phoenix from ashes, brushing splinters from her hair and straightening her hastily repaired dress. Her smile is sharp as a blade when she surveys the crowd. Well, she says, her voice pitched to carry to every corner of the hall. It takes more than a broken chair to break a Luna. This time, Miguel doesn't even try to hide his chuckle. The sound carries in the silence, and he catches several pack members glancing between Savannah and him with something that looks like approval. She's winning them over, one disaster at a time. But the evening isn't over yet. The dancing begins after the meal, traditional pack celebrations that bond them together under the moon's light. It's supposed to be joyful, communal, a time when rank and politics fade beneath the ancient rhythms of their kind. Instead, it becomes another battlefield. I challenge the candidate to the ritual of grace, announces a voice from the crowd, and Miguel's blood turns cold. The speaker is Melissa, a she-wolf from one of the established pack families. She's slim, elegant, everything he once thought he wanted in a mate. She's also poison wrapped in pretty packaging, and she's been gunning for Savannah since the moment she arrived. The ritual of grace is an old tradition, a formal dance that's supposed to demonstrate a potential Luna's fitness to lead pack celebrations. It's beautiful, demanding, and absolutely designed to showcase the kind of willowy grace that Savannah supposedly lacks. It's a trap, and they all know it. I accept, Savannah says before Miguel can intervene, stepping into the center of the hall with her head held high. The music begins, ancient melodies played on even more ancient instruments, rhythms that call to something primal in every wolf's blood. Melissa moves first, her dance a display of traditional technique and classical beauty. Every step perfect, every gesture precisely calculated. She's good, very good. But Savannah is poetry in motion. She doesn't dance the traditional steps. Instead, she moves like fire made flesh, like wind given form. Every curve of her body becomes part of the rhythm. Every gesture flows into the next with natural grace that makes Melissa's technical perfection look stiff and lifeless by comparison. The hall falls silent except for the music. Even the musicians seem entranced, their playing growing more passionate as Savannah's dance builds to a crescendo. When the music finally ends, the silence stretches for several heartbeats. Then someone starts clapping, slowly at first, then faster as others join in. Soon the entire hall is on its feet, cheering her name with genuine enthusiasm. Savannah, Savannah, Savannah. The sound echoes off ancient stones, and for the first time since she arrived, Miguel hears real acceptance in those voices. She's done it. She's won them over completely. That's when Elder Thorn chooses to strike the killing blow. Enough, he says, his voice cutting through the celebration like a blade. The hall falls silent, all eyes turning to the council table where the old bastard sits like a spider in his web. This display of enthusiasm is all very well, he continues, his tone dripping disdain. But we must not let emotion cloud our judgment. The question before us is not whether this female can dance or fight or charm a crowd. He stands, his ancient bones creaking like old wood. The question is whether she is fit to bear the next generation of this pack's leadership. Miguel's stomach drops. He knows where this is going, and there's not a damn thing he can do to stop it. An alpha who chooses a curvy omega, Thorn declares, his voice carrying to every corner of the suddenly silent hall, weakens his bloodline, dilutes the strength of future generations. Is momentary attraction worth risking the pack's future? The words hit like physical blows. Around the hall, Miguel can see doubt creeping back into faces that were cheering moments before. The old fears, the ingrained prejudices, rising to the surface again. Savannah stands frozen in the center of the hall, the triumph draining from her face as Thorn's poison does its work. Even from across the room, Miguel can see the exact moment her heart breaks. She's turned every humiliation into triumph, faced down every challenge they've thrown at her. But this cuts deeper than sabotage chairs or torn dresses. This attacks the very core of who she is, suggests that loving her would be a betrayal of duty. And the worst part is, Miguel can see some of the pack members nodding in agreement. She starts to speak, then stops, her voice failing her for the first time since she walked into his hall. Then she turns and walks away, her spine straight, but her spirit visibly shattered. Miguel wants to follow her, wants to stand up and tell Thorn exactly what he can do with his bloodline theories. But he's frozen by the weight of leadership, by the knowledge that anything he says now will be seen as either weakness or favoritism. By the time he breaks free of political paralysis, she's already gone. Miguel finds her an hour later in the guest quarters, moonlight streaming through the window as she methodically packs her few belongings into a travel bag. She's changed out of the formal dress into simple traveling clothes, her hair pulled back in a practical braid. She looks like she did the day she arrived, strong, independent, ready for whatever comes next. Except now he can see the cracks in her armor, the way her hands shake slightly as she folds her spare dress, the tear tracks that catch the moonlight on her cheeks. Going somewhere? Miguel asks from the doorway, keeping his voice carefully neutral. She doesn't look up. Back where I belong, apparently. And where's that? Anywhere but here. Her voice is steady, but he can hear the pain underneath. Turns out the moon made a mistake after all. He steps into the room, and she finally turns to face him. The sight of her amber eyes, dulled with hurt and resignation, makes his chest tight. You're running, Miguel says. I'm being practical. She turns back to her packing. Elder Thorn is right, you know. About the bloodline. About what's best for the pack. Thorn is a dinosaur who's afraid of change. Thorn speaks for half your council. How long before that becomes more than half? How long before choosing me costs you everything you've built here? The question hangs in the air between them like a blade. Because she's right, there will always be those who see her as an outsider, a threat to tradition. Choosing her means choosing battle, over and over again. I won't be the reason they tear you down, she whispers, and the quiet words cut deeper than any scream. Miguel is about to respond when movement in the doorway catches his eye. Maddox, his head of security, stands in the shadows with shock written across his weathered features. Behind him, Lydia covers her mouth with her hands, her eyes wide with dismay. Great. Witnesses to his potential Luna's exodus. By morning, the whole pack will know she's leaving. Everyone out, Miguel says quietly, not taking his eyes off Savannah. Maddox hesitates. Alpha. Out. Now. They retreat. But he can feel them hovering just beyond the doorway. This conversation is about to become pack gossip, whether he wants it to or not. Savannah zips up her travel bag with mechanical precision. It's better this way, Miguel. You'll find someone more suitable. Someone who fits what your pack needs. What if what my pack needs isn't what I thought it was? She pauses, her hand still on the bag zipper. What do you mean? He takes a step closer, drawn by something he can't name. What if I was wrong about everything? About what makes a good Luna, about what the pack actually wants, about what I want. Miguel. Her voice is warning and longing all wrapped up together. Stay, he says, the word ripping out of him like it's taking pieces of his soul with it. Fight this with me. Show them that strength comes in more forms than they ever imagined. For a moment, hope flickers in her amber eyes. Then it dies, replaced by resignation, so complete it makes his chest ache. I can't, she whispers. I won't watch you choose between me and your pack. I won't be the weakness that destroys you. She shoulders her bag and walks toward the door, toward the exit that will take her out of his life forever. And he lets her go, because deep down, he's still the same broken alpha who asked for a delicate flower instead of embracing the storm the moon sent him. Some wounds run too deep to heal, even when love offers the cure. Chapter 5 broke my bed. Stop. The word comes out rougher than Miguel intended, echoing in the moonlit corridor like a command from the alpha he's supposed to be. Savannah freezes with her hand on the heavy oak door that leads to the courtyard. Her shoulders tense beneath the weight of her travel pack. She doesn't turn around. Miguel, please, don't make this harder than it already is. I asked for a slim, obedient Luna, Miguel says, taking a step closer to her still form. His heart is hammering against his ribs like it's trying to break free, like it knows something his mind is still fighting. The moon gave me fire instead. Her laugh is bitter as burnt coffee. Exactly my point. I'm not what you wanted. And she is exactly what I need. Now she turns, amber eyes wide with shock in the silver light streaming through the tall windows. What? Miguel closes the distance between them, his bare feet silent on the cold stone. They're still in the guest wing, still where Maddox and Lydia can hear every word, but he doesn't care anymore. Let the whole pack hear. Let them know their alpha has finally figured out what should have been obvious from the moment she walked into his hall. 3 years ago, Celeste broke me, he says, his voice steady despite the earthquake happening in his chest. Made me think love was weakness, that passion was dangerous, that the only safe choice was the predictable one. Savannah's travel bag slips from her shoulder, hitting the floor with a soft thud. Miguel. But watching you these past weeks, seeing you turn every challenge into triumph, every humiliation into strength, I finally understand what I was really afraid of. He reaches up, cupping her face in his hands, feeling the warmth of her skin against his palms. It wasn't love that made me weak. It was fear. Tears gather in her eyes, catching the moonlight like trapped stars. The council will never accept me. Elder Thorn will make your life hell. The pack just spent an entire evening cheering your name, Miguel interrupts. They saw you dance, saw your strength and grace and fire, and they wanted you to be their Luna. It's only the old guard clinging to outdated traditions who can't see what's right in front of them. She shakes her head, but doesn't pull away from his touch. It only takes a few voices to plant doubt. How long before that doubt spreads? How long before they start questioning your judgment, your leadership, your right to rule? Let them question. The words surprise Miguel with their certainty. I've spent 3 years making every decision based on fear and politics. I'm done. I choose you, Savannah, not because you're convenient or safe or what anyone expects, because you're exactly what this pack needs, what I need, even if I was too broken to see it before. Her breath catches. Miguel, marry me, he says, and the words feel like stepping off a cliff. Not because of duty or politics or bloodline theories. Marry me because when I look at you, I remember what it feels like to be alive. For a moment, they stand frozen in the moonlight, the weight of the decision hanging between them like fate itself. Then she reaches up, covering his hands with hers, and Miguel sees the exact moment she stops running from what they could be. Yes, she whispers. And just like that, everything changes. The Great Hall has never seen anything like what happens next. Miguel strides through those ancient doors with Savannah at his side, her hand warm and steady in his. The pack is still there, still murmuring about the evening's events, still processing the political implications of Elder Thorne's pronouncement. The conversations die as they enter. Every head turns, every eye fixes on their joined hands with expressions ranging from shock to curiosity to something that might be hope. Pack, Miguel says, his voice carrying to every corner of the stone chamber. Bear witness. Elder Thorne half rises from his seat at the council table, his face pale with dawning realization. Alpha, what are you? I am claiming my mate, Miguel announces, cutting him off. Before the moon, before the ancestors, before all of you, I choose Savannah as my Luna. Gasps echo through the hall. Some shocked, some pleased, some scandalized. Miguel doesn't care about any of them. All that matters is the woman beside him, standing tall and proud despite the storm they're about to weather together. The ritual, Elder Thorne sputters. The proper ceremonies, the council's approval. The council serves the alpha, not the other way around, Miguel replies, his voice carrying the full weight of his authority. And I have made my choice. Without breaking eye contact with the crowd, Miguel bares his neck in the ancient gesture of trust, tilting his head to expose the vulnerable line of his throat to the woman who holds his heart. It's a display of submission that few alphas would ever make publicly, an acknowledgement that she has the power to destroy him if she chooses. Savannah's eyes widen with understanding. Then, with ceremony that befits the moment, she leans forward and sets her teeth against his pulse point, not breaking the skin, not yet, but marking him as surely as if she'd drawn blood. The pack holds its breath. Then she pulls back and offers her own throat to Miguel, her head tilted in mirror of his gesture. The trust implicit in that movement, the absolute faith that he won't use this moment to hurt her, makes his chest tight with emotion. Miguel leans forward, breathes in her scent of wild honey and determination, and sets his teeth against her neck. She shivers at the contact, and he feels answering heat race through his veins. This is it, the moment of no return. He bites down, breaking skin, tasting copper and moonlight and the essence of the woman who will be his mate. His mark blooms on her throat, a brand that will tell every wolf she meets that she belongs to him and he to her. When Miguel pulls back, her blood on his lips, the hall erupts. Not in protest, as he half expected. In celebration, pack members surge to their feet, howling approval that echoes off ancient stone. Miguel catches sight of Justin in the crowd, his young face bright with joy as he throws back his head and adds his voice to the chaos. Quinn is beside him, tears streaming down her cheeks as she applauds. Even some of the older pack members, wolves who've been skeptical of change, are nodding their approval. But not all of them. Sarah stands frozen near the council table, her face a mask of barely controlled fury. And Alex isn't celebrating. He's watching with calculating eyes that promise future trouble. Miguel files those reactions away for later. Right now, all that matters is the woman beside him, her amber eyes blazing with joy and triumph as their bond settles into place. She's his. He's hers. Let anyone who wants to challenge that try. They barely make it to Miguel's chambers before the hunger becomes overwhelming. The mating bond is like fire in his veins, every brush of her skin against his sending shockwaves through his nervous system. By the time he kicks the heavy door shut behind them, they're both breathing hard, the air between them electric with need and newly acknowledged desire. 3 weeks, Miguel growls against her throat, tasting the mark he left there. 3 weeks I've been fighting this, pretending I didn't want you. She laughs, low and throaty, her hands already working at the buttons of his formal shirt. 3 weeks I've been driving myself crazy, wondering if you'd ever stop seeing me as a threat and start seeing me as a woman. Oh, I saw you as a woman, he assures her, backing her toward the massive bed that dominates the center of his chambers. That was the problem. I saw you as a woman who could destroy me if I let her get too close. And now, Miguel pauses, cupping her face in his hands, looking into eyes that hold his entire future. Now I know the only thing that could destroy me is letting you walk away. What happens next is 3 weeks of suppressed desire finally allowed to burn free. Clothes disappear between frantic kisses and urgent touches. The careful control Miguel has maintained since she arrived shatters completely, replaced by raw need and desperate hunger. She matches him touch for touch, kiss for kiss, her passion as fierce and uncompromising as everything else about her. When Miguel lifts her onto the bed, The massive four-poster that's been in his family for generations. She pulls him down with her, and they lose themselves in each other completely. They move together like they were made for this, like all the challenges and trials were just preparation for this moment of perfect connection. Her laughter mingles with his groans, her whispered words of love and desire driving him higher than he's ever been. The bed, ancient and solid as it is, isn't built for this level of passion. They're so lost in each other that neither of them notices the warning creaks at first. It's only when the support beam under the mattress gives way with a sound like breaking thunder that they realize what's happening. The entire bed frame collapses beneath them, sending them tumbling into a tangle of broken wood and twisted bedding. For a moment, they lie there in shocked silence, staring at the wreckage of furniture that's probably older than the pack itself. Then Miguel starts laughing. It starts as a chuckle, then builds into full-body laughter that shakes his shoulders and brings tears to his eyes. The sheer absurdity of it, the alpha's ceremonial bed, destroyed by passion on the same night he finally claims his mate. Oh God, Miguel manages between gasps. The moon gave me a Luna who could break my pride. And my bed. Savannah buries her face against his shoulder, her own laughter vibrating against his skin. When she lifts her head, her eyes are bright with joy and mischief. Then let them all know, she whispers, her voice soft but fierce. Your alpha chose a storm, not a shadow. The words send heat racing through Miguel all over again. She's right. He chose the storm, chose the fire, chose the woman who would turn his carefully ordered world upside down and make it infinitely better. Outside their chambers, Miguel can hear voices in the corridor. Pack members drawn by the sound of collapsing furniture, probably wondering if their alpha is under attack. Let them wonder. Let them gossip about the broken bed and what it means. Let them know their Luna is a force of nature who won't be contained by anyone or anything, not even ancient furniture. We should probably get up, Savannah murmurs, though she makes no move to leave the circle of his arms. Check the damage. Find somewhere else to sleep. In a minute, Miguel says, pulling her closer. I'm not ready to let go of this moment yet. She settles against him with a contented sigh, and he feels something he hasn't experienced in 3 years, complete peace. Not the brittle calm of careful control, but the deep satisfaction of being exactly where he belongs with exactly the right person. Dawn finds them in the ruins of Miguel's bed, wrapped in salvaged blankets and watching the sunrise paint his chambers in shades of gold and rose. They've talked through the night about the pack, about the challenges ahead, about the future they're going to build together. It won't be easy. There will always be those like Elder Thorn who resist change, who see strength only in traditional forms. But there will also be wolves like Justin and Quinn, pack members hungry for leadership that reflects the world as it actually is rather than how it used to be. A soft knock interrupts Miguel's thoughts. Alpha, Marcus's voice, carefully neutral. The pack is gathering for the morning assembly. They're waiting to see you both. Savannah and Miguel exchange glances. Time to face the music, to see how the pack reacts to their alpha's choice in the cold light of day. They dress quickly in simple clothes. Formal ceremonies can wait for later. What matters now is showing them that they're unified, that last night wasn't some impulse they'll regret this morning. The Great Hall is packed when they enter, more wolves than Miguel has seen at a morning assembly in months. They fall silent as he and Savannah walk down the center aisle hand in hand, and he can feel the weight of their judgment, their curiosity, their hope. They stop before the assembled pack, and Miguel takes a breath, preparing to address whatever doubts or challenges the morning might bring. But before he can speak, something extraordinary happens. Justin steps forward from the crowd of younger pack members, throws back his head, and howls, not the challenging cry of a wolf claiming territory, but the joyful song of acceptance and celebration. Quinn joins him immediately, her voice weaving through his in perfect harmony. Then more voices join. Marcus, Maria from the kitchens, dozens of pack members adding their approval to the morning air. Even some Miguel didn't expect. Sarah, after a moment's hesitation, bows her head in formal acknowledgement of Savannah's new status. Maddox, gruff and practical as always, gives them both a respectful nod that somehow means more than all the flowery speeches in the world. Your pack accepts you, Miguel murmurs to Savannah, watching the display with something close to awe. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Her smile could power the entire territory. Our pack, she corrects softly. And yes, they do. As the howling dies down and pack members begin to approach with congratulations and well wishes, Miguel realizes something that makes his chest tight with gratitude. The moon doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you need. He wanted safe, predictable, controllable love. Something that wouldn't challenge him or change him or risk breaking him again. Instead, he got Savannah, wild and passionate and completely unpredictable, a woman who broke his bed and his pride and every assumption he had about what it meant to be strong. And she's exactly what he needed. Exactly what they all needed. The storm he tried to avoid became the force that cleared away everything weak and stagnant in his life, leaving room for something real to grow. As Miguel watches his mate, his Luna, accept congratulations from their pack with grace and humor, he sends a silent prayer of gratitude to whatever cosmic force brought her to his door. Thank you, he thinks, for knowing better than he did what his heart needed. Thank you for sending me fire when I asked for flowers. Thank you for the storm that finally taught me how to dance in the rain. Their love proves that the moon doesn't give what you want, it gives what you need.
Thank you so much for staying with me right to the end of the story. I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment and let me know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. If you enjoyed Charlotte and Elijah's journey, don't forget to like this video and share it with a friend who loves werewolf romance too. And of course, I want to hear your thoughts. Share your opinions below, and I'll see you in the next story.